Dear future Enoch, as of this recording, I've been doing photography for just over 7 years. And during that time, I've received a lot of good advice, a lot of bad advice, and a heck of a lot of contradictory advice. I've heard a fair share of it. Micro Four Thirds is king, full frame is king, expose to the right, expose to the left, pay attention to detail, don't pixel peep. And when it comes to ISO, there's a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about ISO, so advice about ISO is all over the place. And yes, I pronounce it ISO. ISO, ISO, they're both acceptable, okay? If you disagree, feel free to argue in the comments. It boosts engagement. Always wanted to say that. I can forgive misunderstanding, but not obtuseness. I've never shot any photos over ISO 2500, so do we need high ISO cameras? Oh, where do I begin? I've never been on a plane before, so do we really need airports? I have a link to the article in the description. Press pause, take a few minutes to read it, and then come back here. All done? Let's get into it. Sebastian Oakley states, the available light is the same today as it was when some of the masters of photography were shooting at ASA 8 film. So what's the fixation? What's the fixation? What sort of argument is that? Yeah, sure, the brightness of the sun doesn't perceptibly change over the course of a few decades, but that's not the point! We photographers shoot in various different lighting conditions, in various different environments, with various different variables. The amount of light in an equestrian arena is going to be different from the amount of light in a sunny field. It's also going to depend on the weather and the time of day. You can't assume that light is going to be the same everywhere, and you can't assume that light is going to be the same day after day. But hold on, there's more insight to be had. I remember many photographers shooting Ilford Delta's 3200, a film stock with an ISO equivariant of 3200 today. Indeed, I have seen many photographers shoot this ISO and much higher in dark, but all I ever saw was a load of grain or noise in images. When the Nikon D3S came out, I remember one photographer rating its performance at ISO 10,000. Yes, there was a picture at the back of his camera, and I nodded politely, but in all honesty, all I saw was pixels, no structure or form. Okay, so I should probably explain. In film photography, ISO refers to how sensitive the roll of film is to light. In digital photography, ISO refers to how much your camera amplifies the analog signal from the image sensor. In both cases, a higher ISO will result in a brighter exposure, but it will also make the image look noisier. Noise is the little graininess that you see in images that lowers image quality. And while early digital cameras showed more noise, as camera technology has improved, they have shown less and less noise at higher ISOs. That means a photo taken with ISO 3200 on an older camera will probably have more noise than a photo taken with the same ISO on a newer camera. But good equipment doesn't help if the photographer is bad. Myself and my colleagues all got great images. Why? I believe it's because we all used fast lenses and camera techniques to allow us to shoot a shutter speed well below the recommended advice. Now, I'm a firm believer that the photographer and not the equipment is the one that makes the image, but what exactly is a recommended shutter speed? What you set your shutter speed to depends on the environment, the lighting conditions, the focal length, and what you're trying to shoot. There's no textbook correct answer, only explanations. Either you set the shutter speed based on intuition from experience, or you let the camera set it for you if shutter speed isn't critical. Oakley shares 4 photos and shows the ISO values for all of them, but intriguingly only shows the shutter speed and aperture values for one of them, not really telling the full story here. Here's a photo I took at ISO 8000, and here are the exposure settings I used. My shutter speed was 1/200 seconds, a bit fast because I needed to freeze motion. This was a candid, people were moving unpredictably. I can fix noise in post, I can't fix motion blur. It's also faster than the reciprocal of my focal length, 170mm. This is a telephoto shot, I was shooting over the length of a table. My aperture was f3.5 to get the 2 subjects in focus, while still blurring out the rest of the background. After everything else was calculated, the camera automatically set the ISO to 8000 in order to get a correct exposure. Yes, I use auto ISO, and if you're doing event photography, it's a huge lifesaver. If I shot this in ISO 2500, this photo would be too underexposed. And if I lowered the shutter speed, I'm probably going to get motion blur. And this is my point. To answer Oakley's question, you may find yourself in situations where you can shoot at ISO 2500 and still get usable results. That's great. But don't assume that your principles apply to every scenario. Camera manufacturers build cameras with larger ISO ranges because of flexibility. Photographers are often faced with a wide variety of different situations, and having a camera with the flexibility to keep up is a valuable asset. You might be able to get away with ISO 1600 one moment, but in an event where things change unpredictably, you don't want your limitations to have you cornered. Try doing candids in a venue with dim lighting where you have to use a fast shutter speed and can't use the flash. ISO 1600 isn't gonna cut it. I get it, you're a proud oldie. We young guns are spoiled with vibration reduction, and you had to use a beanbag to do 1/100 on a 200mm lens. Have you never imagined a scenario where you don't have the luxury of a beanbag to prop your arm up on? Your ability to shoot equestrian sports at 1/100 is impressive, but don't let your skill and prowess blind you due to technological advancements that improve the tools you use. Instead of seeing the opportunities that have been unlocked, you chide progress on the basis that we need to learn our craft more. And yeah, I agree with you, we do need to learn our craft more, but how does that go against better camera technology? That's like dismissing cars with better fuel economy on the basis we need to drive better. Your conclusion isn't wrong, Oakley, but your premises are way off. Bad article, bad advice. You want good advice? Or at least my advice? Here's how I shoot. Prioritize shutter speed and aperture, because those settings are more important. In general, keep ISO as low as possible, but don't hesitate to increase it based on need. If it takes you past ISO 2500 and you can't adjust the shutter speed or aperture anymore, so be it. The most important part about photography is that you're able to get photos that resonate with you and your audience. And at the end of the day, this is what matters. No one's gonna care about your artificially imposed ISO cap. To my future self, don't be cranky and entitled. This is not a hill worth dying on. Future Enoch, I'll see you next week.